Welcome to Good Eats with Gab. I'm Chef Gabriella Baldwin, and I'm so excited to share with you some of my favorite recipes I like to make at home. Today we're making Bolognese, so let's get started. Bolognese is one of the oldest recorded sauces in Italian culture. It's very comfortable, and I like to compare it to an Italian chili or a ragu, it's typically known as. So first, we're gonna get our pan hot, a nice heavy bottom pan like this, and we're gonna get our meat seared. That sizzle tells you everything you need to know. You cook with your eyes, you cook with your ears, and you cook with your palate. Those are the three strongest tools any chef in the kitchen might use. So what I'm doing here is I'm getting my meat nice and broken up. I do want to sear it on a high heat. You want to start what's called a Maillard reaction. And Maillard reaction of protein is like caramelization is to sugar. So you're breaking down the amino acids in those proteins, and you're creating the golden goodness called fond on the bottom of the pan. Breaking it up assures that you're going to cook it nice and evenly, because once it gets back into the tomato, you want it to cook all the way. I love a good sauce in the fall and in the autumn. You know, it's very comforting on its own with a slice of bread, or today I'm putting mine on gnocchi. Bolognese, it's often called tagliatelle ragu in Bologna. So it's served tossed with a traditional egg tagliatelle, and it's usually very rust colored. Traditionally, they had offals in it, like liver and beef tongue. Today we're not doing any of that, but I will add pancetta. It's gonna make for a really nice flavor profile. So I'm happy with how my meat's coming along. It's getting nice and brown. And if you notice, I have Italian sausage here, and I did not add it in the same way I'm adding my ground beef. You're gonna do what's called nickeling or diming, because sausage has a higher fat content, so it doesn't break up as easily. While my meat is working hard in that pan, I'm gonna get my mirepoix going. So mirepoix is usually known as carrot, onion, celery. Carrots have a nice sweetness, and I actually only wash my carrots. I don't peel them. I like the fiber from the peel, and I also like the flavor intact. I just don't see a need to peel them, especially when you're doing it in this kind of application. And with Bolognese, a lot of people will cut their mirepoix by hand, but I actually like to put mine in the food processor. What this allows is for the texture of the mirepoix not to compete with the texture of your meat. So I'm cutting in just like production, we call this production cut. They're generally all the same size, but it's nothing fancy here. So I had an amazing Bolognese one time with my husband in Italy. We went and traveled multiple towns in Italy on our honeymoon, and we knew that we were both passionate about Bolognese, so we wanted to go to the Mecca of where Bolognese was created, in Bologna. So we walked around the city and we drank and we ate, and we were, up to here in flavor and delicious culinary goodness. But we were still in search of the best Bolognese. So consensus led us to this little hole in the wall. And the way this guy slung Bolognese was the way you see Coney Islands going out at 2 a.m. after a Tigers game in Detroit. It was just a giant rondo, and he was slinging out tagliatelle ragu. And if you didn't get the tagliatelle ragu and the vino rosso, you were doing something wrong. So at Testabara, we designed our Bolognese after this kind of inspiration. My meat's almost done. I'm gonna still get cooking on my mirepoix. Celery I've already cut. Just wash your rib. I think I have enough carrot in there, that's pretty good. And then we're gonna go in with our onion. Unlike the carrot, this one you don't wanna keep the skins, unless you're making stock. So just a nice little production cut. I'm gonna save this for stock. Your onion's gonna give you nice pungence, great sweetness. And forget about it when we get to the garlic. Garlic is a feeling, it's not an ingredient. And whatever recipe says how much garlic you should use, I'd say that's where you should break the rules. Meat is browning nicely. We're almost there. Again, a nice production cut on this, or a stew cut. Just enough to get into this food processor. Nothing fancy. I'm gonna throw a little olive oil in there, and we're on our way. I'm not crying, it's just the onions, they make me emotional. I'm almost creating like a paste. So in Puerto Rican cooking, we also do something like this with our sofrito. And some argue that a mirepoix in Italian cooking is kind of like a sofrito, which is traditionally garlic, cilantro, and onions in Spanish cooking. I think my meat's good enough and brown. We're gonna take this off the heat and reserve. I see some good sticky fond on the bottom. It's starting to get exciting here. Bolognese is probably one of the only things my son, Hudson, will eat. He's 4.5 years old, and I'm sure there will be a mom somewhere watching this who also has a picky eater. He typically only eats it with bread, but if I can sneak in the occasional gnocchi, it feels like a win. So I got most of my meat out. The important thing to do in this step is to just absorb a little bit of that scud, just like you would skim the top of a soup. This can be a little risky, so if you're afraid of oil, then I'd say leave it. It's not worth the medical bill. Then we're gonna lower the heat and get in our pancetta. This is the creme de la creme, my favorite ingredient in this recipe. Pancetta is from the belly of the pork. I'd usually roll this to make a porchetta, which maybe you'll see down the line. Got great fat content, great lean, and who doesn't love pork? So I'm gonna cut this into a nice little small dice here. You almost wanna mince it. This is not a production cut like your mirepoix was. A good tip when you're cutting something fatty like pancetta, put it in the freezer. It'll cut easier. Nice amount of pancetta in there. It's caramelizing. The fond is working hard, guys. The fond on the bottom is everything. And we're gonna deglaze that with red wine. There you start creating an amazing foundation. And a foundation in cooking is just as important as a good foundation in a relationship. That's where it all stems from. If you all are wondering if your eyes ever stop watering just because you're a professional chef, they don't stop watering, even though I think I've cut probably thousands of onions in my career. All right, this is rendering nicely, and I'm actually gonna throw my mirepoix right in there. Sweetness of the carrot, the tartness of the celery, both of that from the onion. It's really, really gonna make a wonderful foundation. This all starts caramelizing together, and that's so important. To create depth in a sauce is the most important step, and that's right in the beginning. That's also at the end when you're finishing with any kind of oils, any reductions, and of course, you know, dry seasonings or anything like that. So I'm happy with how this is going. Let's kick up the heat, add some wine. Wine is very similar to garlic. In a recipe, half for you, half for the recipe, I say. There's often a controversy with what kind of wine to use. Do you use the wine that's been open and it's corked, almost vinegar, sitting on the side of your stove from the party you threw last weekend? Or do you use a wine that you would drink with? I like to use a wine that I would drink with, but I'd never waste a good wine regardless. So I think both are okay. All right, my mirepoix is nice and worked through. It's homogeneous with my wine and my pancetta. Let's add our meat back in. The smells are just intoxicating. I love the fatty sausage with the fatty pancetta, but then you have that lean beef in there that's really taking it home. You want to break up your meat even more because, again, it all matters on how evenly it's going to cook. You don't want some overcooked bits and then some undercooked bits. I'm pretty happy with that. Now for the garlic. I actually add my garlic to let simmer. I'm sure somebody out there will not like that, but I like to simmer my garlic sometimes. And I almost always use a molcajete or a pilon to mash my garlic. And what you do is you just put it in here and you put a little salt, and that helps it grab. Perfect. I'm letting my garlic simmer with the sauce so it really stays congruent throughout the cooking process. Now that's what I was missing, that pungent garlic. I like to hand crush my tomatoes just because I like to regulate how chunky or smooth they are. And we're gonna add that right in there. Make sure you scoop from the bottom. And with a wooden spoon, the wooden spoon isn't just for looks. It's really good to scrape off that fond. That's why all those grandmothers, they knew what they were doing. And you rise it from the bottom to the top, circular motion, getting everything out there. And then I like to add some fresh basil. Just some leaves sparingly. As little or as much as you want. Let these kind of seep in here as well. I'm gonna season with my salt and pepper. This also helps break down that tomato and caramelize and all those acids. And we're gonna let this go for about 2.5 hours until there's a tinge of rust color. You'll see that the tomato has broken down, the meat's broken down a little further, your basil is wilted, and it's ready to put on top of an amazing fresh made pasta. All right, let's see how we did. Of course, I'm impartial because I made it, but it's covering everything I like to taste in a bolognese. You still taste a little bit of that tomato acid, but it's nice and caramelized. I put it over gnocchi, which is pretty untypical, but I love a good Italian sleeping pill, if you will. Ravioli and gnocchi, you'll just be right on the couch after you eat one of these. The sharp pecorino just does so much for me. Takes it home with the cracked pepper. I think this is a winner. I hope you make this at home. I hope you enjoyed making this dish with me as much as I did. It's one of my favorite recipes to make at home. If you'd like to see what else I'm cooking, follow me on Instagram at Gabriella Baldwin with 2 N's. And thank you WBRW for producing this show. I hope to see you next time.